Om Tare Ture Soha.
May all beings be happy.
May all beings be happy.
May all beings be free.
May all beings be free.
Together.
May all beings be happy. May all beings be free. May all beings be happy. May all beings be free.
Hi, everybody. Hi. All right. Here we are. Wow. Amazing. So I'm here in San Francisco at the house of Amita, who is going to be helping me this morning because a couple of hours ago, I woke up with a really horrendous sore throat and my voice was half gone. So I thought, okay, I can't do this, but I want to do this and I have things prepared. So I asked Amita if she would help me and she said she would. So here we are. The events of the past month have been really amazing. It has just been remarkable. All of the various wonderful people that came to dance with us at the retreat. In fact, let me see if I can show you this picture. Yeah, there, look at that. There are all the gorgeous people that were at the retreat. So many Taras and many that I haven't seen in years. It was just amazing. Here's Suki, our wonderful cook for many, many years at camp. And then Maria Elena, who was our organizer in El Cerrito for years and years. And then here, Diana, who has organized Tara and danced Tara in Atlanta for many, many years. I could go on, but it was just amazing. And then people that I'd never met that had been communicating for years. Over here, we've got Renee and her 11-year-old, Nita, which was amazing to have them with us. I'd never met them, wonderful Tara dancers. So anyway, I thought, I hope that you could see that and I could talk over it. That was a big Zoom experience for me to be able to show you a picture and talk about it. So I want to do more of that. But that was the only one I had time to prepare for. It's been pretty full on. We left Brasilia and 24 hours later arrived in Albany, New York. It was really tedious, but we were met by MA and her wonderful husband, Shakur, and we stayed. It was so peaceful at their beautiful house in New Lebanon, right around the corner from the abode. It was really very, very precious. And yes, they're waving at me. Yes, I see you. Sherry, what are you doing there, Sherry? You're still there. My goddess. Okay. Well, the great thing about this wonderful work that we're doing together is to watch everybody meet each other and love each other and sustain these relationships over long periods of time with so much affection and support, loving support. It was really powerful. It was very powerful. These 5 days that we spent at the abode, first of all, I have to take off my hat and bow deeply to Parvati and Miri, because they were such great supports. They were just amazing. Each one of them took a facet of the material, because to be truthful, my energy is, I'm sort of getting tired much quicker than normal. So I can't teach from early morning until late at night. I need to take breaks. And so Parvati led the meditations in the early morning, which I know is a big sacrifice for her. She's not an early morning person usually, but she did that, and I was really grateful. And then Miri led the dance classes, the dance technique classes, and also worked with the masks. That was an interesting part of our journey as well, to continue to work with these amazing masks that Makari had crafted for us in Brazil. There were a lot of sort of revelatory experiences where one of the things I wanted to sort of lay the groundwork for my talk today is the understanding that our relationship with Tara, or with any of our sources of refuge, is our relationship with the highest part of ourself. So when we examine and find them to be filled with quality, these are the qualities that we are inspired by, that we are, that we want to emulate, that we want to have the same quality. We don't turn to these beings because somebody else told us they were great. We turn to them because they inspire us. If we do it for any other reason, it's not going to bring us the fruit of awakened mind. But if we do it for the right reason, if we really understand, this is, for instance, let's talk about Mother Teresa. If Mother Teresa is one of your sources of refuge, as she is one of mine, she really inspires me. So what inspires me about her is her unconditional love, her willingness to completely enter into the understanding that every person is her divine beloved. And this is very inspiring to me, to really I want to live that way. I want myself to be able to encounter everyone, no matter what shape they're in, with loving kindness and with a sense of inclusion, but also with this understanding. She repeatedly said, this is the body of my beloved. This is the body of my Lord Jesus. Of course, we can put any idealistic form in there. This is the body of Tara, and my caring for this being is my caring for my beloved. And so I aspire to that. So when we talk about Tara, as she's presented to us, as she's introduced to us as this being of great love and great light and great sense of humor and beauty and flexibility and everything we could possibly want in a beloved friend, everything that we could want in an eternal mother, the one who cares for us, the one who protects us by by really showing us the way or giving us inspiration on the way. But all of these qualities, we have to remember, all of these qualities represent the highest part of ourself, the part of ourself that we most want to connect with and we want to bring to fruition. So when we appeal to Tara, although we are appealing to a being that represents these qualities, we're also appealing to that which is our own essential nature. So as I go through these different practices and prayers with you today, I want you to remember that. Now, you can put any name in the prayer. It doesn't have to be Tara, depending on who's your main connection, who represents everything. In the practice of Tara, as we do it, as it was given to me or explained to me by Bokha Rinpoche, he said something really beautiful that really helped me. He said, when you meditate on the central... Somebody didn't get muted. Mute that person. When we meditate on Tara in front of us and we fill the sky. So just now, imagine, the sky is filled with all of our radiant sources of refuge, and Tara is right in the center. We imagine that all of these different sources of refuge have different qualities that appeal to us, that cause us to make the connection with them. But Tara being in the center, we imagine that they all merge with her, that they all fully engage with her. And so, but that she is the union. I mean, this is in the beginning of the opening stanzas of our text, the mind treasure, that all these sources of refuge merge with her. That is why she is called rare and precious. She's called rare and precious because she represents everything that we possibly could want to aspire to, everything that we want to stimulate within ourselves. Now, what I wanted to share with you, what I wanted to discuss with you, is the prayer of death and the bardo. Because I'm often asked, and of course we're confronted with this, we never know when we're going to be confronted with this, as a beloved who is passing away or who has passed. And just recently I was with my family, my birth family, my sister and my niece. Jessica was celebrating her marriage union. And it was, a rare experience for me to be with family. And one of the things that we revisited was the death of my parents and what happened and what needed to be done and what we sort of stumbled around trying to figure out. So Amita, her father just recently passed away. Now, while I take care of some of my cold things, I'm going to let her talk a little bit about who he was. So I'm just going to turn the computer over here.
Okay, yes. Oh, thank you, Prema. My father passed away on April 14th, and we were able to do a celebration of his life last week. It was a beautiful experience. He left a great legacy for everyone to enjoy. He was a mural artist and a musician, and he did some beautiful works here in San Francisco. So we celebrated him with a big party. It was great. It was really nice. Yeah.
So you can see him right behind here. It's really amazing. Yeah, not knowing him, I said to her, well, I imagine it was a Dixie band. And she said, yeah, it was. Yeah, we had saxophones and trumpets. Yahoo. Yeah, so when someone consults with me about a relative that is dying, what to do, or a beloved friend, or anyone that there you are at the bedside. What's necessary? How do we deal with it? Well, according to the teachings, and we're going to go through the Bardo prayer in detail, but if it's someone who really doesn't have any sense of the Buddhist way at all, or of these meditative practices, there's still a lot that you can do. You don't need to go there. There are a few things, a few sort of atmospheres that are very, very helpful to generate. The very basic thing is to let whoever is dying know that no matter what has happened, the good, the bad, whatever has happened, that you're grateful for the experience, that you are what you are today because of all the experiences that you've had. And so generating a sense of gratitude and encouraging them to also just think about the things that really have touched them in a wonderful way. Talk about the good things, because it's so easy in our obsessive attachment to what goes wrong. We identify much more with what's wrong with our life and what goes wrong with our life than we do with the positive. So you want to sort of gently direct them towards the good things if you can. And when you do this, stimulate yourself and them to have this sense of gratitude, and that you love them, that you are going to allow yourself to open into a sense of unconditional love without judgment. Just here's another being who's really tried to make it work however best they could, and there you are. So that brings you to the next thing that really needs to be communicated, which is, whatever I've done to disturb you or to hurt you or to confuse you, whatever I have done, I'm very sorry for any pain that I've caused, and I ask your forgiveness. And whatever you've done to cause any confusion or pain in me, I offer my forgiveness. So the slate is cleaned. There's nothing to be grasped onto here. And you want to, sometimes with dying people, of course, consciousness comes and goes. And sometimes you're talking to somebody who apparently is not capable of communication. They're not conscious, but their spirit, according to many, many experiences, observations of doctors dealing with the dead and the dying, consciousness remains, especially if the body is still alive. Consciousness touches in. So you can communicate even if the body itself is not showing any kind of response. So it's very, very good to emphasize these four aspects: forgiveness on both sides, granting forgiveness and asking for forgiveness. And then gratitude and enjoyment and love, really thinking about, especially, sometimes it's been interesting the past month, I'd say the past few months, several of my beloveds have had former mates, former husbands passing away. And, of course, when one is together with a mate, it starts out pretty good. Otherwise, you would have never gotten it together. And you tend to forget that as things become complicated and perhaps not as pleasant. So we don't emphasize that. So it's good to really remind ourselves that it's precious, actually, that we have had some really good times. And so be grateful. We're grateful for the good times and grateful for whatever lessons we have learned through the association. So there's a sense of completion in the communication. Now, looking at the transition of death, there are ways for us. Now, we as practitioners, we as people who are interested in really contemplating this aspect of ourselves and of preparing for this monumental experience, there are ways for us to examine our life. And one of the things that I found very interesting, I have here 4 different practices that are possible for death, for the time of death. And we can develop them, as I said, using any form of deity as the focus of our attention. But we start this practice while the body is still alive, but it's starting to exhibit the dissolution of the elements. One of the things I wanted to point out in this is that Ken MacLeod made a very interesting correlation about the dissolution of the elements and the experience of the dissolution of the elements. And he said, when we have an imbalance of the elements at any time in our life, that we can experience this. We can experience the same essential disturbance as if the element itself is falling apart, we lose touch with its presence. And if we can become familiar with this sensation, that we will take note, not only at the time of our death, but also all of the little deaths that we experience every day, all day long. There's always these moments when the ground comes out from under us and we are compelled to react in ways that are disturbing. So we learn a good part of our mindfulness practice is to help us to become alert to these experiences. So when they arise, when we have this sense of disequilibrium within the element itself, we recognize that this is simply a dissolution of the moment. And if we can relax into it, we can actually experience an awakening, which is rather remarkable to think about. Now, Ken also pointed out that if we're not familiar with it, we panic. Fear is the thing that is our greatest inhibitor, our greatest problem in these cases, because fear is what drives us to engage in unwholesome behavior, either mentally, verbally, or physically. And yes, and especially mentally. We don't even notice, and all of a sudden we're obsessed with these thoughts that just keep going around and around of attachment, aggression, and confusion. So let's, I'm going to invite Amita to read this prayer. This gives me a chance to rest my voice, and I will comment after she reads a certain section of the prayer. So when this is happening now, I want you as much as possible to use the power of your imagination to actually see what it is that we are discussing. So we start by filling the sky with all of our sources of refuge and imagining that Tara is right in the center.
Myself and all beings that equal the sky take refuge in the 3 jewels. Until the heart of enlightenment is reached, deliver us from the fears of present, future, and intermediate lives.
Okay, so we start right from the beginning by imagining that we're not doing this for ourselves alone, that we're imagining that all beings are here, sitting here around us, and that we're making this appeal, that we're offering this prayer, and we're engaging in this practice for the sake of all beings, so that everyone can be liberated from the fear of death. Especially, Lama Tenzin said, the greatest fear arises just before we enter the intermediate state. But we can really resolve this. We can, and I know I've heard reports from doctors that some people who die very peacefully, that they simply let go of the elements as they're breaking apart, as they're dissolving, and they allow themselves to open into the next experience.
This precious human life, so difficult to find, so easily destroyed, determines our suffering or happiness. Without distraction, I undertake the great purpose of enlightenment. This life is impermanent. All things change. The time of death is uncertain. May I cease the suffering and confusion of mind regarding thoughts of grasp and grasping, the impurity of the four elements, the illusory nature of the five aggregates and all conditions that cause death, the suffering of separating the consciousness and cutting the essence of life.
Oh boy, doesn't that sound like fun? So the five aggregates are, no, you've heard me talk about this before. We start with infinite interconnectedness. When we step away from interconnectedness, we become isolated. We feel that it's us and them. That's our basic confusion. That is ignorance. When this occurs, then, we try to grasp, to develop around us what are called the five aggregates. They're also called the five heaps, which I like because I love the idea of this stuff just sort of, we are heaping around us. The form, we have a form, we have a name, we have emotions, we have thoughts, we have consciousness. All of these constructs we attach ourselves to. They become sources of attachment because it gives us an identity. The thing about the aggregates, we have to defend them. And so that opens up the whole can of worms of aggression. And this is our basic fear. We're going to lose something. We're going to lose our sense of identity. And so we violently push away anything that affects this. All of these things become very apparent as we die. We see them. We see how they distract us. But if we haven't trained ourselves, if we haven't examined these things the way we're examining right now, if we haven't done that, then we're overwhelmed. The experiences overwhelm us. And we cling to our identity then. We cling to this sense. But it's going. We can't. At the time of death, there's no question that all of these things are going. We are going to have to let go of the sense of self, the way we see ourselves, and all of the ideas around the way we identify ourselves. So this is really important that we examine this now.
May I cease confused states of mind, the cause of non-virtuous action, the cherishing of this body, and not letting them deceive me. When Yama manifests, may I not commit suicide by the weapons of ignorance, attachment, and anger. May I remember at death, happy and confident, the advice of my spiritual friends. May I generate powerful, virtuous mind as the elements of earth, water, fire, and air disappear into each other. The physical heart draws in and the breath is dense with much sound. May I realize the deadless essence, stop the illusory thoughts arising from the three poisons, ignorance, attachment, and anger that make up the 80 illusory thoughts. May strong mindfulness arise. When my senses cease to function and I cannot distinguish sounds, shapes, smells, tastes, or feelings, may I recognize the dissolution of the aggregate of form. As the earth element dissolves, our body loses strength.
Okay, so here we go. You don't need to know about what the 80 illusory whatevers they are. It's really fine. We don't need to identify those things. But we do need to, when we watch someone who is dying, we will see when they enter this state of the dissolution of the earth and their relationship to the form in which they inhabit. And so we, in our own being, while it's happening for them, we also think, I relinquish my clinging onto the way I identify with my body, that I'm the earth element in my body, the solidity of my body. I'm going to stop seeing it as a solid thing. I'm going to let go of this.
Our body loses strength. We cannot get up or stay upright or hold anything. We feel we're falling, sinking underground, being crushed. We're heavy and uncomfortable. As the earth element dissolves into water element, the secret sign is the vision of a shimmering mirage. I will visualize the goddess at my heart.
So now this is a practice. It's available to all of you. I will certainly send it to you so that you can read through it. And Lama Tenzin recommended that for a sustained period of time, you read through it every day and become familiar, so that as these things happen, when you see someone who has entered the very intense breathing of death, you can place your hand on their heart and just remind them that whoever or whatever, how they relate to the most precious and divine aspect of themselves, in our case, Tara, that she's resting there, that they can relax into that space. Now, the other aspect that I was talking about, the dissolution or the challenge of the earth element, when our sense of self that doesn't feel like the earth is under our feet and we start feeling very uneasy, breathe into that and look. Just pay attention. Mindfulness is the most important piece of this. Pay attention without identifying with the experience. And you may really have a beautiful, precious opening and awakening as the earth element transforms.
May I recognize the dissolution of the aggregate of feeling as the water element dissolves. We lose control of our bodily fluids. We feel as if we are drowning in the ocean or being swept away by the river. As the water element dissolves into the fire element, the secret sign is a haze with swirling wisps of smoke. I will visualize the goddess at my navel.
Okay, so now just for a second, place your hand on your navel and just imagine that Tara is resting there. And imagine that any challenges of the water element, because the water element has this sense of discipline and lack of discipline. So we are asking, when this occurs in our life and we feel as if we're being overwhelmed by the waves of water and that we need to let go of this sense of identity, that we can rest in the awakeness and see it for what it is. It's simply a dissolution of the element. It gives us an opportunity to enter into an awakened state.
May I recognize the dissolution of the aggregate of perception. As the fire element dissolves, our mouth and nose dry up. We cannot drink or eat. We feel as if we are being consumed in flames, a roaring blaze. As the fire element dissolves into the air element, the secret sign is shimmering red sparks dancing above an open flyer. I will visualize the goddess in my forehead.
So now just place your hand on your forehead for a moment and imagine that the goddess is there. And imagine that the element of fire, which we often experience, the element of craving desire, of wanting something so bad and of defending it with all of our might, that we feel that we're burning up, relax into the experience and see the openness of consciousness that's also available to you.
May I recognize the dissolution of the aggregate of intellect. As the air element dissolves, it becomes hard to breathe. One grasps and pants, the eyes roll up, we become immobile. We hallucinate and have visions. If there is negativity in our lives, we see terrifying forms. If there are positive acts of kindness, we see friends and blissful visions. We experience a great wind sweeping away the world. As the air element dissolves into consciousness, the secret sign is a flaming torch with a red glow. I will then transfer my consciousness to the wisdom mind of the goddess.
So now we enter into the practice of Poa, right in the center where all of the apertures of the skull meet. We imagine that Tara is sitting right above here and that we can leap into her heart, leap into her heart. So she's able then to help us to fulfill any idealistic aspirations that we have without any limitation. Preparing for this is where it's really, according to these teachings, it's absolutely essential that we develop over the course of our lifetime a sense of positivity, of wishing others well, of really seeking and understanding and developing and cultivating the understanding of interconnectedness and of bringing everyone with us in our spiritual practice, continually praying for the well-being of all beings. Because when we exit the body, we want to exit it in the most fulsome way possible, the most radiant, wondrous way possible, so that what greets us on the other side then really helps us to relax into the experience and to have many different things available to us. Whereas if we have not cultivated the effort to examine any negative grasping that we have, aggression especially, aggression, anger, the willingness to harm others, this distracts us. This is extremely distracting at the time of death. And when we are distracted, we are not going to be able to see all the subtle signs. We're not going to be able to experience them because we will be looking for that. Now, one of the fortunate things, and this is a little bit outside of the Tibetan way of seeing things, but in my experience as I've examined a number of reports of near death or even of people who have returned in the spirit to communicate with living people, it's very interesting what they report, that the aspirations, the wishes, the strong prayers of their relatives, of their loved ones, those who have gone before them and those who are still embodied, make a very big difference in helping people to orient themselves in a positive way, even if they have spent a fair amount of time in confusion. So just recently, someone was telling me about someone close to them who was attempting suicide. So even if this happens, even if this desperate sense happens, those who remain embodied can hold them and pray for them and send them as much positive light and love as possible. This will help to stabilize them. Another really important activity that we can engage in when someone passes away is to approach those beings that we have a strong spiritual connection with. So if you have a strong spiritual connection with a monastery, a group of lamas, or for instance, our Taurus circle, people that you have really strong connection with, and ask them to pray also. This has a very great effect on the one who has passed away. We shouldn't think that we lose connection. One of my favorite spiritual stories is Ramakrishna. He was a really crazy yogi in Calcutta, and he was dying of throat cancer. And one of his students came weeping, "Master, oh master, what will we do when you're gone?" And he said, "Where am I going?" He said, "Well, Master, you're going to die. You have this terrible cancer, and the doctors say you're going to die." He said, "Yes, my body is going to die, but I'm not going anywhere." So I love that story because it's true. We're not going anywhere, but we are engaged in a different dimension of consciousness. We no longer have a solid body, but we can still communicate. So it's important to understand that. This is one of the values of developing relationships with these wonderful beings, because you can turn to them and ask for their prayers. And, just another word about prayer. Remember, prayer is about contacting that which is highest in your esteem and appealing to that understanding to reflect into your life, whatever it is that you feel you need. And don't worry about your needs not being superficial. That will reveal itself with time. But if you feel you really need something, but especially when it comes to others that you care about and you want to help them in whatever condition they are in, your prayers are powerful, and enlisting the prayers of others also really powerful.
Then the blood gathers and enters the channel of life in the center of the heart. 3 drops of blood collect, and with 3 long out breaths, the breath ceases. The inner dissolution of respiration commences. The Father's white semen descends from the head to the heart. There is an experience of whiteness, a full moon. The awareness becomes clear, and 33 states of anger dissolve the state of appearance. The mother's red essence ascends from the navel to the heart. There is an experience of redness, like the blazing sun. Great bliss arises. All 40 desire thoughts dissolve, the stage of increase. The white and red drops meet in the heart with the consciousness between them. There is an experience of blankness. There's an experience of blackness. The mind becomes free of thoughts and ignorance, ends the stage of full attachment.
So these things happen very quickly. And for most of us, unless we have really spent some time contemplating this and experiencing it within our body-mind, it goes by right away. It goes by very quickly.
The ground of luminosity dawns, the mind of the clear light of death. The premortal ground of our absolute nature is revealed. Consciousness itself dissolves into all-encompassing space of truth. May I recognize the vast and subtle depth of its naked simplicity. Let me not react, grasping or in fear. Let me prepare daily to purify and stabilize the mind.
And there's the message. Let me prepare daily to purify and stabilize the mind. So there are many things that we can do. The most important is to just be aware. What are you thinking? What's going on? Whenever something arises, how are you thinking about it? And to devise strategy to disarm the negativity. It can be done. And you can be jolly about all of this, so that when we come to this state, we can simply relax into the experience. We're not afraid of the experience. It's helpful to read this prayer because it reminds us these things are, we don't know when it's going to happen, but it's definitely going to happen. We are going to die. And so if we prepare in this way, then it's actually a grand adventure and not a big, horrible challenge for yourself or for anyone else. One of the things that inspired me about this conversation with Amita and her father, this story about her father, was that in some ways it was a gentle death. He was himself, they prepared, and in this way it was a celebration as well as a letting go.
The arising of the ground luminosity is like the clearing of the sky just before dawn. When gradually the sun of Dharmata begins to rise, the natural radiance of Gridpa manifests spontaneously and blazes out as energy and light. I will take on the body of light. This is the first phase of the Bardo, when space dissolves into luminosity. May I recognize these radiant manifestations as my own mind's nature.
Now, one of the questions that often arises is, does this happen for everybody? Is it exactly the same? No, it's not, actually. I have read many reports, as I said, about people who have died and come back, and about people who have returned in the spirit to discuss their experiences. And it appears that what we focus upon in our tradition, whatever our tradition is, that this reveals itself to us. There are many different opportunities. So what do we want to do? What do we want to do with all of this? Well, in looking at it, it seems like the safest thing for us to do is to cultivate a symbol like Tara that we can relate to, that really stimulates us, and to move into it as much as possible to allow ourselves to let go of our ordinary identity. Now, this is where the practice of our dance really comes into play. Because when we're dancing, we are taking on the aspect, we are remembering, I am Tara. Not the ordinary way I think about myself. This was the power, it was amplified by those, at least the report that I got, for those who were dancing in the masks. Apparently, dancing in the mask allowed our different Taras to really engage in a very strong way with this sense of non-self identity, of really identifying with being Tara, so that we let go of the normal way that we think about ourselves. We let go of all of our self-identification. This is really helpful at the time of death, because we want to let go of self-identification and move into this radiance of the connection that we have with this radiant being. That's going to remind us Now we have a body of light. We are a radiant light being. So I'm going to stop the prayer right there, because we've got just a few more minutes of this part of our engagement. I hope that you're okay with this. I know that it's a little unusual, and I'm very grateful to Amita over here. There she is. Because my voice, I'm definitely, it's going down. So it's, but she really saved me, because I wanted to share this with you, and just as part of our connection today, to remember there are things that we can do. Now, one of the books that I recommend, if you really are preparing, for somebody's death, it's Sogyal Rinpoche's book, the Tibetan Book of Living and Dying. Tremendous. He did a tremendous work, and I'm very, very grateful for that offering. And he listed different ways in which we can connect with our beloved Tara during the time of death. He had 4 different practices. So the first one was the one that we just discussed. And it goes on to talk about all of the different illusions that are presented to us, and to encourage us to hold to this understanding that we are a radiant light being, we are Tara, and that at some point we are going to have the choice of whether to be reborn or not. And we must hold to our intent that we want to be reborn in a body that can continue to further the understanding of the truth, the understanding of the nature of mind, and with parents that will further this, that will help us, in a culture that will assist us, and also that we can take whatever we've gotten, whatever we've gained, whatever inspiration we've developed through the course of our lifetimes, and we can take this and we can be reborn in a body that will serve humanity. Now, if we keep making this prayer before we die, we take it with us when we die. So there are a few things that we take with us. Treasure on earth, forget it. All of our stuff, gone. But the intent to be of benefit, that we can take with us. So now, here's another practice, and this one I'm going to read. And the sky in front of you is Tara. Focus your mind on her and offer her this prayer. Mother Tara, through your blessing, grace, and guidance, please purify and remove all my negativities, destructive emotions, resistance. I'm sorry for any harm I've done through thought or deed. I pray whoever I have harmed can forgive me. Mother Tara, help me to accomplish the profound practice of the transference of consciousness at the time of death. Help me to die a good and peaceful death. Through my triumph over death, may I be able to benefit all beings, living or dead. When you say this prayer, at this moment, right this moment, Tara is looking at you. She's very moved by your heartfelt prayer. She's responding to you. She's smiling at you, and she sends you her love and compassion in a stream of light. Light is pouring from her heart, and as they touch you, as the light rays touch you and penetrate you, they cleanse and purify all your negative karma and destructive emotions, which are the cause of all suffering. You are totally immersed in light, completely purified and healed by the light streaming from her presence. Your body, created by the force of karmic circumstances, dissolves completely into light. Your body of light soars up into the sky and merges inseparably with Tara's blissful light presence. So that is one powerful practice that you can engage. Rewrite it according to the understanding of the person that you're working with. If you're working with a dying person and their attachment is to, but try to find out, who are they attached to, Jesus or Allah, or who really inspires them, and guide them into meditation with a prayer like that. But the third practice, you invoke the presence of Tara and imagine that consciousness rests in a sphere of light at the heart. And then instantly it flashes out of the top of the head like a shooting star and flies into Tara's heart. Dissolve and merge with her. But practice number 4, this is for someone who has practiced Dzogchen Mahamudra, the essence of consciousness. And you simply merge your mind with the wisdom mind of Tara. And we're doing that all the time throughout the day as we engage in all the different ways. I encourage you, keep the mantra on your breath and in your heart as much as possible. And really resolve every day that your life is noble, that you have some wonderful things to do with this life, that you, as you transform your own consciousness, you awaken the people around you. You have so much effect on everybody that surrounds you. So rejoice in your life, rejoice in this tremendous opportunity that you have. And I certainly rejoice in this wonderful, precious opportunity to connect with you, my beloveds, all over the place. It's so sweet to see you all. Yeah, it's really, really wonderful. So, ta-da! That's that. I managed to get through that one. I'm really very proud of myself. And so, the next thing I would like to share with you. Oh, look, there's Barbara Gach. Oh, great. Hi, Barbara. Okay, let's see. Who did I see? I'm going to look around here. Oh, and over here we've got Regina and Carrie and M.A. and Sherry. Mary Stone. Hey, you. Okay. Kim Abby. Wow. All right, you made it. Kala. Okay, so over in the Big Island there. And then Girme. Okay, I don't know that I've ever met you before, Girme, but nice to meet you. Yeah, and let's see. Liliha in the swamps. Yay. And then, of course, Midi in the back room. And Robin. This is really wonderful. I'm very happy to see you all. It's really precious. I think that's, yep, I got everybody. Trishana is there. I don't see her, but anyway, hi. Some people turn their thing off. Phyllis. Yes. Phyllis? Where's Phyllis? Oh, Phyllis Danu. Hi. Okay, that's wonderful. Oh, Habibi. Hi. You guys. Okay, so now it comes to this. Let's see. Okay, I told you a little bit about the retreat at the abode, Woodstock. Woodstock was really amazing. It was wonderful. I was, by that time, oh yes, I forgot to tell you, the last day at the abode when I thought, oh, I'm feeling so good, I'm going to lead the mandala, and I had it all organized that I would lead the mandala, and I was dancing, and I did a little leap, and I blew out my knee. And so I wasn't able to lead the mandala. In fact, Miri, right in the middle of things, Miri got someone to take my place. That was Johanna. Thank you to Johanna for jumping in there. And so I've been limping around ever since. But it was really kind of fun because I got to sit in the middle of the mandala at KTD in one of these office chairs, you know, that spin around. And so I taught from the office chair, spinning. It was really wonderful. That was really, yeah, I was so glad I blew out my knees to have that experience. But the other interesting thing that arose, Miri in Brasilia asked me if I would do a commitment ceremony. And Miri, if you're there somewhere, I know you are, could you please get one of those little toms? Are they available? Can you hand one to me so I can show everybody? So Miri wanted me to, we wanted us to create a token of our commitment in this practice that we're engaged in. And as you know, you've heard me say many times that it sort of fell into my lap, and that I had to figure out my way. Oh, here, look at this. All right, see, there it is. I don't know if everybody can see you, but yeah, that's Sherry's got the tom that's Miri created. Yeah. Oh, good, Gurme. Okay. Wow. Ah, very nice. Okay. Beautiful. Yeah. So representing the commitment that we make, that we have a detour. Ah, Gurme, now I remember who you are. Gurme is our nun. She's a nun in the Tibetan tradition. Huh?
This is my IV.
Okay, Miri is making some kind of gesture. Yeah, this is it. Really beautiful. Anyway, we had them made by a fellow, a craftsman, with the idea that in this tradition, at least the way I am engaged, it's important that you know that we are committed to our practice, that we're committed to each other, that I'm happy to be present, to be available to you, to whatever capacity I can be. But then I expect a certain amount of commitment from you to communicate with me and let me know if you need any help. And if you're engaged with this practice, and if you cease to find that it has any value to you, that you return this little token of commitment. So that was it was magic. We were sitting in the beautiful prayer hall of KTD, which is, you know, the heart of the tradition that I've studied within Tibetan Buddhism. And we engaged in this practice. There were 3 or 4 people who were prepared for that, and it was very moving to me. It was very moving to dance there, to sing there, and just to, every time we practice together, it's so moving. I'm always so touched by the dedication of the dancers, and also just the practice itself. It's precious and wonderful. Yeah, so that was Woodstock. Okay, and then off we went. So the next thing that we're going to do in a few days is dance for Anab Tupten. And I'm so grateful that I have Miri here. So if my knee continues to assert itself, I can't be sure that I'm going to have a chair with wheels, but I will be present to guide the practices. And Miri can show the movement. It's really exciting. We're going to do Refuge and Bodhicitta, and then Shantideva, and then the 8 precious offerings, White Tara and the 6 shields. And then we'll see what kind of energy we have if we'll do a few other things. But we'll definitely end with Oma Hung and the new 4 Immeasurables prayer, which I can't wait to share with my beloveds on Maui. They haven't gotten that one yet. So that's White Tara for Anam. And then next week, Tuesday, off we go to Maui. I'm so excited. Joshua and David say they're getting ready for us. They have flowers all up and down the path. I can't wait to see, can't wait to be home. It'll be so nice. We have set a date for Kauai, by the way, Kauai girls. At least, of course, you can talk with Ayana, but tentatively, we decided the full moon in September is Friday the 13th, which is a wonderful goddess day. So we were thinking to go over to Kauai to start our, to do a tsok offering in our Dhatu tradition. and then a weekend of practice together. So that's September 13th. Put it on your calendar. We finally got a date. Anyway, and if it's a problem for you girls in Kauai, talk to Ayana. And then Pia is planning a mandala of the 21 praises at Tara's Temple in Berkeley, the 21st and 22nd. So those of you in the neighborhood, please be sure to support her. And then Dancing for Dhamala. So in October, it's October 10th through 14th. And those of you who are planning to do this with us, the registration form is up. And I don't know if I can send, well, those of you who make a contribution, I'll send you these notes so you'll know. Within the next week or so, I'll have it up. But I want 22 people confirmed in doing this because we need to prepare with the masks and the costumes and so forth. And I want this to be a magnificent offering for her. I just want to give her something precious from our tradition. She always tells us, keep dancing, keep dancing. She makes it, this beautiful monastery available to us. So I want to make sure you can be there. Yahoo! Okay. Let's see, what else do I need to share with you? How are we doing? Oh, I'm not doing bad. Pretty good. Okay, so then, all right, after that, October 18th through 21st, there's a Tara dance on Orcas Island, which is the San Juan Islands. So that'll be so much fun. If you guys could put that together, just imagine. Oh, I forgot to say, we're going to be in Portland to celebrate the 10th anniversary. So if you'd like to arrive in Portland and then, sort of caravan up to Seattle, the day before, Wednesday night, Minnie and I will do an evening of demonstrating the way in which Charya has influenced the Tara Dhatu dances. And that's the 10th. And then the 11th is Dhamala. On Thursday, she'll give the empowerment. And then the 12th and 13th, we'll put the dance together with the masks. And the 14th, we offer it to her. And then the 15th, we'll have lunch with Dhamala. She loves to have social time with the Dakinis and the Dakas. So you've got some things to plan for there. Okay, what else do I have organized? Oh, yes. Okay, our contact in Ecuador has confirmed. If you're interested in joining us for this little adventure in Ecuador, let me know. I was thinking, that we would just quickly come and go, we'll do a little checking it out and dancing Tara. But then I thought, maybe we can also go to the Galapagos for a week. That might be kind of fun. So who's interested? Who's interested in trying another part of the world?
I am.
Amita's raising her hand already. So I need names. Write to me and tell me because I need to figure this out. But I think that would be really fun. Hopefully we can back to Kauai, but so far I understand that the road is not open. Is that correct? Kauai girls, the road's not open yet. I don't know what to say about that, but we're thinking maybe by next year. Yeah, and then the other event is Sultrama Leone's retreat. I keep getting people ask me the date. It's the 23rd to the 28th. We're going to do a 5-day practice there. So I think that takes care of all of that. So that brings me to questions. Anybody have any questions or anything you'd like me to talk about before I sign out and let you talk to each other? Barbara. Okay. Oh, I can't hear you though. Why can't I hear her, Josh? Oh dear. I can't hear you. Well, why don't you type your question into the chat box?
She should be, it says she's unmuted, but for some reason her computer is not picking up the audio, so maybe typing the question would be good.
Okay, please. Anyone else while we're waiting for Barbara to type her questions?
Prema, I actually have a question about death.
Tell me.
Okay. I have someone close to me recently who has been asking about something that's coming up on Hawaii Island, and that's the assisted suicide option in life. This person lives in Louisiana, and she is not familiar with that type of experience because in Louisiana that is not a thing. And she came to me as if I would understand, because I live on Hawaii, how that is such a great option to have. And I was just so taken aback being approached because I realized that I really didn't know how I felt about it, because there was this big part of me that felt like it's almost quitting. And I know that this person is experiencing a lot of pain, which she chooses to suffer through. And I was curious, just as far as exploring the Bardo and this idea of assisted suicide, like what are your thoughts on this experience of choosing to take yourself out like that?
Okay, this is not traditional. This is me talking.
Okay.
Because if we look at life as a continuity, in other words, the consciousness continues beyond our death, then depending on the degree of distraction, because pain can be so distracting, we can, of course, use the pain. If we are educated, it is an opportunity. And it's good to take whatever opportunity we can get to expand consciousness, to cultivate consciousness. So in that way, it's not an easy decision to make. But if someone really, really feels that this is the only way out for them, I would not in any way show any form of judgment, because our relationship to a person who is about to die is very important. So it's sort of like, it's very similar to the abortion question. You know, there's no way of winning here. There's no way of saying this is a win situation. It's a desperate situation. And it requires thought and consideration about why you would want to do something like this. But then we have to honor the decision of the individual. I don't agree with the Catholic Church. I don't agree with the idea that someone who commits suicide is someone to be put aside. You know, the Catholic Church has suicide can't be planted in consecrated ground. You know, I don't believe that. I think that that's really unkind. If you've ever experienced chronic pain, not just a superficial pain, but really pain where you can't think of anything but pain, you would never want that to be prolonged. You wouldn't want somebody to have that prolonged. So I don't know if that answers your question. I can't give you a definite answer because I don't know myself. I've only heard different reports of people who have taken themselves out. Often, one of the problems is they're not considering the fact that their death has an effect on everybody around them, and that it can cause tremendous disturbance in their family and the people that are close to them. And that certainly needs to be considered. That would be in fact, that I have seen in suicides apologizing or trying to contact family members who, you know, the spirit communicates and is very sorry for the disturbance that activity. So it can't be taken lightly. It cannot be taken lightly. Yeah.
Well, thank you. And I think that it was the biggest comment there was just to remember to not judge and to not be attached in that way of judgment, because you just never can really know what's going on inside of someone. So thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, Barbara, did you get your question written down? No? Okay, are we giving up on that? Okay, I'll see you in a week probably, or shortly. So, okay, anything else anybody wants to talk about? All right, well, friends, thank you so much for spending some time with me. I'm really, really grateful. And I just pray that, you know, this precious time that we have together and this precious opportunity that we have to meet, that we can that we can continue to meet in such auspicious circumstances. I'm very, very grateful. Thank you for taking the time to be with me today. It's really lovely to see the faces of my beloved friends, and keep us in your prayers. I sincerely hope that within a few days I'll have fully recovered from all of my afflictions and be 100% present. And I pray that wherever you go, however you travel, that you will be protected and that you will continue to be inspired. Big thank you to you, Josh. Josh, did you have anything that you wanted to say before I sign out?
No, not really. Remember, everyone can stick around and chat after the call is over. We'll keep it open until the last chat has commenced.
Okay, so I'm signing out, beloved friends. Bye for now.